Oh, come on. Why do I keep doing that? Hi friends, my name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. I don't know why I keep pushing the wrong button on the Stream Deck during the intro, but I've done this a bunch of I don't know. All of a sudden, the past couple of weeks, I keep hitting the wrong button. It's very, very weird. Welcome to Monday night Q&A and more work on the AOS Cine25. And more checking out these prototype crazy QAV 702s and Q&A, as always. Thanks for coming by. Joshua is still streaming, so if you're still over there, I get it. I don't know why I'm saying if you're still over there, you can't hear me. You're obviously not in two places at once. Frank Nicholas was first in the chat. Big Fran was next. Free Lojo, Justin the Guy, Danzilla the Terrible, Left Step, Benjamin Bailey, Brandon Woodford, Free Lojo. What's up, people? Justin the Guy says, finally some decent weather to fly in the Pacific Northwest. Super stoked. Very cool. Yeah, the Pacific Northwest has been getting hammered with weather. This year. It's cold here in Atlanta. Good Lord. Maggie, Azalea, the doggy, and I just went for a walk around the neighborhood, and it was brutal. I was wearing this, and I was like, cold. So, yeah. I hate the cold. The cold can go to hell. For life. Brandon Woodford says, good evening. What's up, dude? I did a DayZ live stream last night, and lost, like, 6 or 7 hours of progress. That game is brutal, man. That game is absolutely brutal. Like you can play, you can be. So when you start out, you got to be like a gear goblin for a little bit to try to get geared up, and that's like that. I'm stuck in that phase. Like I'm not good enough at the game yet to get beyond the gear goblin phase. I spend like an hour gathering up gear, and then the zombies eat me. I'm just not good. I'm not good at the game. But you know, you gotta do stuff a million times to get good at it. So it's still very fun. It's like demoralizing as hell. Like you spend a bunch of hours, you finally like get your best little load out of gear, and then the zombies eat you. and that's it. And that's that. But man, what a cool game. It's for anybody that doesn't know, it's a survival game. Basically there's been a outbreak of a virus that turns people into zombies, and you and a bunch of other people have survived. And it's a hardcore survival game. Like, you have to manage your thirst levels and your body temperature, heat levels, and you got to eat food, and like you got to manage all these things. And then there's a bunch of zombies walking around that like try to get you. And then there's other players running around who are very like, one of the easiest ways to play the game is to just kill somebody else that's all geared up and then take all their stuff. That's not how I play the game. One, because it's more fun to like be friendly with the other people, but two, I'm not good enough. Like if I tried to take somebody like a human, I can't even take care of the zombies, let alone other people that have been playing the game for a while. So yeah, I play the game a little bit weird right now, but I don't know, it's still very fun, so I'll keep doing it. It was a 1080 stream. The PS5 will output 1080. Benjamin Bailey, welcome to the club. Thank you for subscribing, brother. Yeah, that stream went out in 1080. I took a quick look at it earlier, and it looks fucking great, man. The PS5 is one hell of a piece of kit. New patron flew the coop yesterday. Thank you for joining the Patreon. Flew the coop. This is my full-time job. I rely on support from people like Flew the Coop to keep this hoe train rolling. You can head on over to CiottiFPV.com if you're interested in helping a brother out. It would mean a lot to me. Patreon helps me out the most. You can get on there for as little as 10 cents a day. If you're into FPV, you probably have 10 extra pennies a day for a dude that's going to help you save a ton of money by suggesting products that don't catch on fire, and just generally helping you build rigs that fly better and have more fun. There's also an Etsy store where you can get some stickers and some hardware, a Fiverr page where you can work directly with me one-on-one, take advantage of the 6+ years of experience that I have in FPV. I can help you fly better, tune better, build better, and I'm going to teach you how to do those things every step of the way. Teespring for some fun shirts and whatnot. PayPal if you want to support me directly, but you don't want the evil YouTube, Google overlords to take 30% of your super chat. And then a whole bunch of affiliate links. If you're doing an order on the internet, try to use someone's affiliate link. Doesn't have to be mine, just use somebody's. It's a weird thing to create content for a living, so help us out by doing something that's very easy and is free. I have affiliate links to We Bleed FPV, Newbie Drone, FPV Cycle, Amazon, Get FPV, Oh My God's website, HD0, Flywoo, Emacs, Banggood, Camera Brother, AliExpress, and there's a bunch of other fun stuff down the bottom here that you might get a kick out of. So yeah, that's what's going on. Thanks to all of you that support me. It's wild that you guys have made this possible, and I would love to keep going, but yeah, everybody needs to do a little something. Click thumbs up, leave a comment, send me a couple of bucks, whatever it takes. We will keep doing some testing, keep improving the way these things fly together. The Discord community that hang out in the chat here are like brilliant people. You're gonna love hanging out over there. So yeah, get full Discord access with 10 cents a day over on my Patreon. Freelojo says Bardwell just ended. I was in 2 places at once. Nice. Freelojo dropping the Patreon link. Thank you, dude. And all right, cool. We're caught up. I've got batteries that are fully charged for the Tiny Whoops. That's pretty cool. I might just dive right in. Jesse from Tiny Whoop was cool enough to send me some prototype motors that are a higher KV 702, and we're trying to figure out if, basically what we're trying to figure out is what's the limit in terms of KV for an 0702 motor. Bench testing on a thrust stand does not tell the whole story, because it is trying to pull static air in and then push it out. When you're in the air, the air is not static, other than when you're hovering. Like when you're hovering or when you're sitting on the ground, then the thrust stand is totally valid. But the second that you hammer the throttle and the rig starts moving, now it has incoming air that's already been accelerated, basically. Not really accelerated, because the rig is moving through the air, but as far as the motors and props know, that air is being accelerated in. So when the thrust stand shows that your motor is too high of a kV, in the air, you can actually push it a little bit farther because of that. And yeah, we're trying to find like the upper limit of 702s. And I have a funny feeling that we have either already found it or we have found it with this motor, because the more I fly this, the more I realize that like the gains are pretty subtle. Like the gains with these prototype motors versus the 702 30,000s are pretty minimal. Which I was hoping for a little bit more, but to be honest, the 32,000s make a pretty incredible amount of power as it is. So it's fine. Like if the 32,000s are the limit, there is nothing wrong with that. They make an incredible amount of power. The Whoop is hard to fly with those motors. Like it took me a long time to get used to that amount of power here. I'm trying to get some of this Bondic out out of the tube here. The UFL keeps coming unplugged on this rig that's got the prototype motors on it, and I just want to make sure that doesn't happen anymore. It's a really good way. You gotta really pay attention to that on tiny whoops, because if you're like the VTXs being a part of the AIO, it's gonna get really hot. Flexo, thanks for the subscription, brother. Yeah, the AIO is gonna get really hot no matter what. And then if you've got it relies on the antenna. I mean, all VTXs rely on the antenna as a heat sink. So when you don't have an antenna plugged in, they can overheat. And when your VTX is on the AIO that's already getting really hot, it becomes a much bigger problem. So yeah, make sure that on your tiny whoops, your VTX antenna does not come unplugged, because it's a good way to cook the entire AIO. Freelojo dropping the CiottiFPV.com link. Thank you, dude. 6S1 says indoor limit is going to be way different from than outdoor limit for KV. Have you flown these 32,000 kV motors outside yet? My 30,000 kV motors are wild outside. Really moves fast. Yeah, I've flown the 32,000s quite a bit outside. The most fun, though, that I've had with them, if I'm completely honest, was at the hotel. For the at the cycling race. What is happening here? Come on now. There it is. Which I'll play you a little bit of right here. Yeah, this was really pushing the 32,000s to their limit. To be honest, like I would love to have had even more power for this kind of bigger flying. This would have admittedly been better with a 75mm rig, but the 75mm rig wouldn't have been this safe around people. It wouldn't have been this quiet. So yeah, this was an absolute blast with this guy and the 32,000s. But yeah, man, if I can get more, I'm gonna take it, because like there were moments flying this thing around doing like big dives and stuff where it would actually run out of power and it would yaw washout. Kind of interested. I might revisit the props in thing to see if that can be cleaned up a little bit, because yeah, like I said, I don't really know if we're gonna get more power than these 32,000s. But yeah, this was very fun, and they're this little 65mm tiny whoop is unbelievably capable. With the 702 32,000s, it's really unbelievable to fly. So, yeah, there's some. I basically call this flying big, covering big amounts of ground, big spaces, big, massive, full throttle power loops and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, a 65 mil tiny whoop is really not meant for this. Like, it's a tool for the job of flying in smaller indoor spaces. This is taking it way outside of its comfort zone and its like abilities. So it's kind of incredible that it's able to do this at all. So yeah, and as we go higher and higher and higher on the KV with these little motors, they become harder and harder to fly. Like, you have to add more and more throttle expo in there, and it just, yeah, they become much more difficult to fly. It took me a long time to learn how to fly even the old school 25,000 kV motors in the house without just constantly crashing, and I still crash an awful lot. But it's really worth it because it unlocks like these momentum-based off-throttle throw moves, which I'm just such a fucking fan of. So, yeah, it's I have a feeling that we are at the limit of what the 702 stator volume can push. What's really interesting, though, is that the 702 stator volume is the smallest. If we go up to like a 603 or an 802, we should be able to spin significantly more RPM than this. So, I mean, in theory, we could go to like 36,000 kV, I don't know, 38,000 kV, or we can just put a tri-blade on. And that's typically what, I think that's what most people are going to do. I would rather not do that. I don't like the way the tri-blades fly. I really prefer the Gemfan biblades, but hey, you know, different strokes for different folks. Frank Nicholas says VTX antenna is not a heatsink. The transmitter amplifier needs some resistance. Without it, it's unloaded and runs full power without any load and will overheat. I did not realize that. Very cool. Thank you, Frank, for clarifying that. 661 says, I've found reducing weight really makes a huge difference for all-out acceleration outside, but you lose some flight feel when it gets too light. With tiny whoops, reducing weight is a huge deal, mainly because it's hard to wrap our heads around the percentage of weight loss. Like, I hear all the time, like, oh, this tiny whoop part is only a half a gram or a gram heavier. That doesn't really matter. Oh boy, does it matter. You know, with a dry weight of like 18 and 19 grams for most of these new tiny whoops, 1 gram is a big thing. That's like a 5 or 6 or 7% change. So you blow that, let's just go on the low end, 5% change. You blow that up to a 600 gram rig, and that's a 30 gram difference. That's the difference between like flying a session and flying a hero. And you can absolutely feel the difference between flying a session and flying a hero. So, yeah, shedding weight makes a huge difference with tiny whoops. I mean, with all rigs. With the lighter weight rigs, though, they do get kicked around more in the wind. So outside, when flying outside, it actually makes more sense to have a slightly heavier rig with more powerful motors. A 603, an 802, something like that. They deal with the wind a lot better outside. And like, if you don't like, it's not necessarily a windy area here in Atlanta, and like we don't get a lot of wind, but like any wind will send a 65 millimeter rig like to the fucking moon. So it's a real thing. Like, being able to handle the wind outside is something that I kind of underestimated, to be honest. I used to say that, you know, 75s really don't even have a home outside until I built one that was like really powerful, and then I kind of came around. But yeah, a 75 millimeter tiny whoop on 802, like 26,000, 27,000, 28,000 kV motors with Gemfan biblades outside is a hell of a thing. And it absolutely outperforms the 65 millimeter rigs, even with mega powerful motors and props. The main issue that we run into with the 65s is battery size. Like, the 300 milliamp folded cell batteries, like, they're it. I mean, there are longer batteries for this that are 350, maybe even 400 mAh, but they're not folded cell, they're rolled cell, and the performance sucks. So, like, these WeBleed folded cell BT 2.0 300s are really, like, the best battery that there is. Tiny Whoop also has a version of this battery. It's the exact same battery, but it has a different sticker on it. I prefer the WeBleed batteries because the sticker is one big piece that wraps around. The Tiny Whoop batteries are completely fine, but the WeBleed batteries, the sticker doesn't peel off like the Tiny Whoop batteries, and they're all the same price, so you kind of might as well get the WeBleeds. But yeah, those are some of my thoughts on that. 661 says, I was building whoops around 16 grams dry and getting over 4 minutes outside on 30,000 kV. Now I prefer them at about 18 grams dry. They fly better. Yeah, that's where all of mine are. All of mine are like 18 point something or like 19.0, 19.1. And it seems to be, to get below this weight, you have to really make some sacrifices, namely durability. And that, you know, with how often and how hard I slam, that's just not a great idea for me. So that's the main thing that's sort of driven me to build these rigs into what they are. And yeah, it works really, really well. They fly staggeringly well, as a matter of fact. McMucus says, McStinky is 0.5 grams lighter than a Mobula 6 canopy. It is indeed. It's not going to be quite as durable. And you don't have an adjustable up tilt. My main issue with it, though, is that it drops the camera down so low that you get a bunch more duct in view, which I don't really love. So I'm still on team Mobula 6 canopy, if I'm honest. I was thinking about switching everything over to the McStinky mounts, but I just don't like the look of the video as much of the video as much with so much duct in view. Which is, you know, just a personal thing. But Ethan W says, how much does that 0702 rig weigh? I assume that you're talking to me, Ethan, but you forgot to type CiottiFPV. This is 18.8, 18.7, 18.9 grams, right around there. Speaking of, let's throw it up in the air and bounce it off some shit. What do you say, friends? We'll get some flying done here, get a little testing done, and then we'll move over to the AOS Cine25. And basically tonight is going to be putting the rest of the standoffs in, which will make you guys very happy. Not standoffs, the stack screws. And then it's going to be soldering up the XT30 to the ESC. It's going to be putting the capacitor onto the ESC. I'll plug some stuff in, maybe not. I don't know. I'm still waiting on the motors. The motors will be here tomorrow. Motors have to mount to this, so I can't put the bottom plate on. Yeah, I don't know what I'll do. Hold on, though. What I do know is that I need to swap the battery out in this transmitter. I remember I put it up on the table to remind myself to do that. And then I was like, what did I leave this on the table for today? Put it back in my bag. All right, here we go. In my QX7, I use these Gold Line 2S 4000s. They're okay. I don't love them. I think that the MAH is overstated. I don't think they really have 4000 MAH. They're also, they're lithium ion, so you can only, like, charge them up to 4.1. But then I think you're supposed to be able to, like, discharge them down farther. I don't know, man. I've had 2 of them drop cells on me, actually, which is kind of annoying. But, I mean, 4000 mAh 2S, like, this is the most milliamps that you can get that fits in the battery bay of the QX7, so... yeah, I don't know. It's okay, I guess. All right, so yesterday what we did is we flew a bunch of batteries in a row on the higher KV motors, and then the last battery we flew on the 32,000 KV 702s. Let's reverse that today. I have 6 batteries charged. why don't I fly 3 batteries in a row on the 32,000 kV rig, 1 battery on the prototype motor rig, 1 battery back on the 32,000 kV rig, and then 1 more battery on the prototype motor rig. The first battery I'm going to fly is one that's a little bit older. It's not going to be quite as fresh. And then the rest of these batteries that I'm going to fly tonight. Yesterday I was flying beat up batteries. Tonight I'm going to fly the freshest batteries that I've got. So more than likely the beat up batteries yesterday are why I really couldn't tell the difference. This should be much better. What's up, CMYK? He's driving across America. Nice. Wes says, what do you think of the Bubito? So, all of those rigs, I don't like any of those rigs that are non... Jesus, what is Hold on. Why does this feel so weird all of a sudden? What's happening? Now it feels fine. Felt like its little pants were on fire for a second there. Good lord, let me check the up tilt, although the up tilt is fine. I have a bunch of duct in view, so the up tilt's fine. That was weird. I don't know. I don't know what that was about. But yeah, I don't like any of these little tiny rigs that don't have prop guards. I don't understand what they're for. Like, you can't fly them in the house because you're gonna destroy your walls and all your stuff. And they also, like, without the ducts, they slide around a lot. So, like, unless you're the best pilot on Earth, which, you know, there aren't many of, it's just going to be a bit of a nightmare to fly it inside. And then if you take it outside, they don't have the power to really fight the wind, and they also don't really have the speed to, like, cover the amount of ground that you're going to need to cover outside. So... to me, they're just sort of like this hype train of, like, look what it's basically like, look what I can do without any, like, does it make sense? It's just kind of one of these things that's like, look how cool this is, but there's sort of no point to it. There's nothing that they really do all that well. In my opinion, a couple of people have referred to them as garden rippers, and they like to kind of fly them around their garden. If I was gonna do that, and when I do that, I do it with a 75mm tiny whoop, and the guards allow me to bump into stuff, and then and then you can also, like, in a pinch, fly it in a house inside. If you ever get the chance to fly, like, in a warehouse, it's gonna be perfect. Or, like, any other big space, it's gonna be perfect in there. So yeah, and the other issue is these little tiny motors have little tiny 1mm motor shafts that are very weak. So without the guards, it's just going to be a reliability nightmare, and it's going to be a rig that, like, if you fly it hard and crash it, it's going to always kind of be down. So yeah, I've done those builds before, and, like, in 100% of the cases, I would rather either be flying a 65mm tiny whoop, a 75mm tiny whoop, or, oh god, or a 3-inch toothpick. Like, that's kind of the real problem, is that a 3-inch toothpick will do everything that those rigs will do so much better. Like, it's so much of a more dialed in flight experience. It'll fight the wind better. You can rail it down the street at like 50, 60 miles an hour. Oh, shitters. It's just, it's like the right tool for that outside flying quietly job. And, yeah. All that being said, I do have a Bubito that I am gonna build. because I have like an extra, because I like pain. I like to torture myself. Even though I test things over and over again, people keep telling me that, you know, X, Y, or Z is the best flying thing that they've ever put in their mouth. And then I go, oh, really? I must have been wrong. But, you know, that's important. Like, you know, welcome to science. Science is based around wanting to be wrong and wanting to correct it. So, yeah, I have no problem testing and retesting and retesting and retesting. And I've been wrong before, you know, like, your flying skills change, your tastes change. So, I don't know, maybe I'll like it this time, but, like, when I look at it logically, I can't find anything that they just don't fly well outside. They don't have enough power to fly all that well outside. And you really can't fly them inside. It just doesn't, it's just gonna wreck all your shit. I guess, like, if you rent an apartment or something, like, maybe fuck it, whatever, but don't do that. Get your security deposit back, yo. Rejected. Oh, see, that's what it was. It just wanted me to go through it forwards. That's all. Oh! Oh! What? Hello! How are you today? I'm doing well. Man, I just went bombing into the kitchen completely blind. Oh, shit. Oh, boy. That's gonna be a big one. Oh, the fan got me! Man, the fan got me good. It knocked me all the way back over here. Jeez. Oh, that's a fucking cool move. Quadbod did a little clip with me doing that exact move there, that exact roll off the balcony here, and I was like, ooh, I gotta do that again. That's really cool looking. So it's like up like here, and it keeps that round part of the front door in the middle of the frame, and then you do a rotation around it to kind of like make it into a circle, like that, but you do it while like kind of coming down diagonally. That ain't it, but yeah. Oh my god. Oh, we are in it tonight, friends. Hello. Oh, that was a big old throw across the room. Oh, shit, yeah. Oh my god, yo. Oh, I knew that was gonna be a stretch. Oh no, 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 easy, easy! Shitballs. Oh, Christ. Man, these 32,000s make big power. Trying to set up a little, here's what I'm trying to set up here. A little pop up and then dive down. It happens so fast. You gotta be like really quick on the sticks to do it. Ah. It also helps to come into it. If you're having trouble doing some of these moves inside, one of the biggest things that you need to figure out is that you gotta do these from low altitude. You wanna be as low as possible, and then that's gonna give you the maximum height to do the throw. If you're flying around in the middle of the room like this, and then you're trying to do these moves, like, you're gonna end up hitting the ceiling an awful lot. So that's one of the nice things about having the cube gates, down on the ground like that, is that it kind of forces me to fly through that cube gate low to the ground and then throw up over. So yeah, if you're gonna be hanging some gates from the ceiling like I'm doing here, which I really do recommend, it's such like a quick, easy way of having some really difficult targets to try to throw yourself backwards through. It's super, super, super challenging. Yeah, just understand that the lower you initiate the move, the more vertical space you're going to have and the more time that you're going to have to throw it up and then chop the throttle and let it soar, and then pick up the throttle again. All right, one more battery on the 702 32,000s, and then we're going to hit the prototype rig real quick, and then we're going to bounce back to this one. Stevie says, a good frame for oversized AIOs like the X12. I mean, there really aren't any. I think it's just it's either one of these non-ducted frames, or it's the Mobula 7 V4. But I mean, the Mobula 7 V4 frame is brilliant, so there's nothing wrong with that. Kevin Sumner says, can't fly it around the house, but you can fly it around an airport, evidently. It's true. Weirdly, that's true. I almost put this rig up in the air at the airport when I came at the Atlanta airport when I came home from Miami, but I was fucking tired. All right. And Wes says, I've been seriously disappointed with my Mobula 7 so far. It's good for straight and level, but anytime I try to freestyle, it just flies like garbage. I guess I need different motors. Yeah, the motors that the Mobula 7 1S ELRS comes with are awful. They're way too low. I mean, most Tiny Whoops come with motors that are way under spec. The Mobula 7 1S ELRS with an 0802 26 or 27,000 kV motors is a completely different thing. It's absolutely night and day. So yeah, while you're at it, you might as well get motors that have a 1.5 millimeter motor shaft from tinywhoop.com. I don't know what's in stock at the moment, but the snow blowers are probably in stock, and they're going to be about the right KV. What I have are the... Oh, God. What I have are the... Oh, God, that fucking lamp came out of nowhere. That scared the shit out of me. I did not expect that lamp to be there. Good God. Shit, I forgot what I was saying, but I think maybe I gave you an entire thought. I hope I did. If you have any other questions, just drop them, and make sure you tag me so I see it. Ah! Stop it! Leave me alone. Let's get the tightest power loop in all the land. Oh, great. Actually, no. Let's not do that. Let me keep doing. Stop. Let me keep doing big power moves. What I have noticed with these mega KV 702s is that like the prototypes, there don't seem to be, man, thank you Crash Recovery, there doesn't seem to be like a drastic reduction in, or any real reduction in so close in throttle resolution. So that's really good. That's one of the worries of going to super high KV motors. Oh, we did it. Is that you're gonna lose throttle resolution. And I mean, with all of these high KV 702s, you do lose a significant amount of throttle resolution, but you get it back with throttle expo, which is really, really nice. Woo! Alright, that was a little bit cheaty. Let's get that a little bit better. Oh, so close. Oh, man. Hey! The goggles beeped one time, and then they're like, I guess the voltage is fine. Woo! Oh! Tried the sketchy power loop and failed. Oh, no! God, I hate falling back behind the goddamn shelving unit. Where is it? It's over here. Maybe I can just reach it from right in here. Let's see. Hey, I got it. Okay. All right, last little bit of battery here, and then we're gonna throw the prototype rig in the air. Don't! Ooh! The impossible power loop. It really calls my name. Oh, shit. Get in there, yeah! Oh, missed it. I was going for it on that one. And just didn't quite get there. Low gap. Ah! Battery's getting a little low. Let's bring it on in. Okay, up in the air now with the prototype rig. Let's see if there's, let's see if I can tell a difference here. Another fresh battery. And let's see what's going on. Here we go. Freelojo says, with the tightest, CiottiFPV with the tightest of Matties. So let me do some more Matty flips. Greg says, clear AF, rip that shit. Thank you, dude. Mavhoov FPV says, how do you live stream your DVR? There's a little box for like 25 bucks on Amazon. It's called the ROTG1. ROTG1. Search that on Amazon, you'll find it. Woo! Okay. That gate just presented itself. Yeah, these make more power. These absolutely make more power. The batteries I was running yesterday were like old and moldy as fuck. With these much more fresh batteries. Oh god, yeah, I can absolutely tell a difference. Absolutely. All right, that's really good. I'm really happy about that. Oh my god, it's so satisfying. I cannot explain to you guys the level of satisfaction hitting some of these like big moves with these fucking little tiny whoops. Look at that perch, yo. Oh, look at it. Look at it. What did I hit? Oh, I fell off. That's embarrassing. Just wanted to land it up here real quick. Hold on. What did I hit? I hit the Lego Mini, I guess. I must have. Hey! The couch ate me. Oh! I was not even close. Let's try that again. Oh my god, I wasn't even close again. That's a big gap there. That's a much bigger gap than I thought. One more time. There we go. Now I overshot it. Oh gosh! Oh! I hit the Lego Mini hard on that one. Oh my god! The hood was not that high up before. That's funny as hell. Oh boy! Easy. That was cheating. That's why these cubes are awesome, man. You can just get dirty with these cubes. You gotta be quick. The cubes are just big enough where you can do this stuff, but not so big that it's like easy in any way. I would love it if somebody made one of these cubes like twice as big. Stop it! There we go. You gotta pick the throttle, like, when doing Matties into the cube, you gotta pick the throttle up really early. One of the tricks to Matty flips that I just remembered is that you keep the vertical part of the thing that you're wrapping around towards the top of the screen. So I'm going to try to keep the top of this cube exactly where it is now. Watch. And that really helps the Matty flip out quite a bit. Oh, great. Alright, hold on. So you try to keep it up to... Oh, this battery's shit in the bed. Okay. Let's go back to the 32,000 kV rig, and I'll try to show you that. Wes says, the new motors will go in the stock frame, right? Absolutely. Lights, Camera, Coffee says, any info on pusher versus standard configuration? Thinking of building a Pico Cine rig with a naked run cam thumb. Considering pusher, but mostly for looks. Pushers are kind of annoying because you can't land them. Like, if you land them and the grass is more than like 2 millimeters long, it's going to block the propellers. So that's one of the big pains in the ass with pushers. From a cinematic standpoint, they're great because the ducts fall off, so you can push the camera farther back without getting ducts in view. When the ducts are up here like this, and the camera field of view is like this, it's going to catch the edge of the duct a little bit earlier. Also, apparently, pusher rigs are a little bit more efficient, which that shouldn't be the case. Like, the science does not... The science behind aerodynamics and the high and low pressure zones states that above the propeller is the more important area to keep free of obstructions. But man, like, when we fly these rigs, it's such a dynamic kind of thing that it's not all that surprising that, that in the real world, there's potentially some efficiency benefits to the pusher configuration. I'm still not a fan of pushers yet. I'm working on it because and I'm building a bunch at the moment. Oh my god, I'm just flying like a baboon. So there it is. So there's that GemFan logo up. Keep it up on the top of the keep it up on the top of your view. This is one of the things I talk to folks about in the Fiverr sessions when I'm showing them Matties, is you keep the horizontal piece that you're Matty flipping around. You know, so like it could be the boom of a crane. The cranes are the best things to practice Matty flips on. And yeah, you just want to try to keep that horizontal object on the top third of the screen. And that's going to help you get the Matty flip done. Oh! That hurt. Stop it! The other thing is, like, when I run those prototype motors, it's tough to compare because I fly this battery all the way down to like 3.3 volts, and then I pick up a rig with a fresh battery, and it's like, well, yeah, of course the fresh battery is going to feel like more, but I still do feel like those protos make more power. I can almost hear it. Like, they sound... The PID loop sounds more crisp. And I hate quantifying stuff like that. I really do. But anything... Like, it's so hard to... It's so hard to quantify this stuff and to pick it out versus placebo that sometimes you have to do stuff like that. You have to use like weird that's what I've been trying to do. Weird analytical, that's not the right word, but hopefully you guys know what the hell I'm saying, because I don't seem to. All right, last battery is I just kind of started flying and I wasn't really paying a ton of attention. Let's let's go back to the prototype rig. Like I'm kind of tempted to fly another battery on those 32,000s to see if I can really wrap my head around them a little bit more, but let's keep going back and forth. Bob Noxious says, you were drawing in a lot of new people. Good job, brother. Thank you, dude. That is very cool. I don't necessarily notice that, but now that you mention it, I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess I am. That wasn't a Stevie Wonder battery, was it? I think that was a Stevie Wonder battery. I don't remember hitting the... Sorry, guys. Lights, Camera, Coffee says, oh, no, we got that. Wes says, oh, no, we got that. Oh, it was a Stevie Wonder battery. God damn it, Larry. Thanks for coming by, Wes. William Loesch, just watched the intro. I've always thought getting to know the biking crew in my city would be advantageous for gigs. Footage looks great. Which rig are you flying? QAV Cine. QAV Freibot Cine Pro, whatever the hell it's called. Sub 250. The problem you're going to run into is budget. Apparently cycling does not pull in much budget. Like every single, right now, especially after the Miami Beach event, which got a shitload of news coverage, like every single cycling organization wants to hire me to do that for their races, but they just don't have the budget. And it's not something that should be done on the cheap because it's real sketchy. It's just real easy to crash because you're going to be chasing the lead group. And so if something happens and you go down, the entire peloton is going to go down, and essentially you're going to ruin it for, like, you would be ruining it for everyone. So yeah, it's it's tough, man. It like, you know, easy for me to say, like, I've been in it forever and whatnot, but like it really is true that when it comes to like these industries that we're just sort of breaking into, we want to be really careful. And this is not me saying that like you're not a good enough pilot. I have no idea how good of a pilot you are or aren't, as I bash into a light. But yeah, what if you're gonna do something, do all of us a favor and make sure that you don't do it for like a couple $100. Like this, you should be charging minimum $1,000 day rate for that kind of thing. Photography drones are deep in a race to the bottom, and it has really killed that community already, and it's just getting worse and worse, and we're really trying to have that not happen to FPV. It already is with the Avata, but yeah, we're trying not to accelerate that by, I don't know, I don't know if it's like being greedy. It's just like what we do is extremely specialized, and if we start whoring ourselves out, it's not fair. If we start giving it away for a lot less, and you know, like we're taking all the risk, right? Like your Part 107 is on the line with that kind of stuff. So to do it for not a lot of money is insane, because it's on you if that shit happens, right? If the entire peloton goes down, you've got like 30 riders that are hitting the concrete and breaking shit. Like that ain't gonna be good. And like, yeah, of course they're under the events insurance, but like it's still not, you know what I mean? Like it's still not good. So all that being said, like for sure reach out to them, but I just don't like, I don't know, I guess I'm just saying, like, don't get your hopes up, because I've been tied into the cycling world for the last year and a half or so with these events, And I just keep hearing this over and over again. I keep hearing that there's no budget, there's no budget, there's no budget, there's no budget. And apparently the deal is, at Miami, I really kind of got to the bottom of it. There are a lot of people that love cycling, but there are not a lot of people that are willing to watch cycling races, and that's where the budget comes from. So yeah, the better bet would be to get tapped in with the companies that make cycling gear and work with them to do cinematic promos and, you know, Instagram shit and YouTube shit and stuff like that. That would be a much better way to kind of spend your time, and I've been trying to do that as well. I actually just sent one of the companies that was there some of the quick and dirty footage that I got for B-roll during that event, and I'm hoping that I can work with them. And there's another group in Denver, Colorado that I want to work with when I go there for the NCL race. So maybe I can fly out there like a day ahead of time and do a bunch of work with them, and kind of get 2 gigs in one. That'd be pretty rad. So yeah, but again, all that being said, like, it sure sounds like it, but I'm not trying to discourage you from it. I just don't want you to go into it thinking like that there's a gold mine there waiting for you. The other thing is, like, with live flying events in general, the other big thing that these guys are all talking about that we're kind of running into as a problem is the organizing bodies. They just don't want drones. Like, they have, you know, they've seen the million drone fail videos, right? As we all have. And they don't want that. Like, they want to protect the safety of their players. And the players don't necessarily want it either, because it's a nuisance, right? Like, they're trying to perform at their best, and, like, a drone is a thing that could fall on their heads and cut the shit out of them, right? So, like, they don't necessarily want it either. So that's been the biggest struggle, has been convincing these organizing bodies that it's safe, and that with a good pilot, there is very little risk of it impacting the performance of the players in any way. And that's kind of another reason that I hope that I just want everyone to be super careful with this shit, and hopefully we don't, you know, somebody doesn't hurt a bunch of athletes and ruin it for kind of everyone. But again, easy for me to say, right? Like, I've been in this world forever. I'm lucky enough to have a YouTube channel here with some subscribers, not a lot, but you know, I don't have to do a ton. I should do a lot more, but I haven't had to do much outreach to find gigs. I have enough of a presence on the internet that people will find me and ask me how much to fly this, that, or the other. Doesn't happen very often anymore. It was pretty nuts in 2021. 2022 started off really good, but like halfway through 2022, it just completely stopped, and I've been struggling really bad ever since. But trying my best. I have a bunch of these cycling events this year. I have 4 scheduled, and they pay extremely well. So yeah, it's hard to really complain about that, to be honest. Matt Who, here you go. Amazon, and then you search for ROTG1, and it's going to give you nothing. What the hell? You used to be able to search for ROTG1. So let's just search for USB VTX. Let's just search for USB VTX. That's not it. Oh, because it's not a VTX. It's a VTR. USB video receiver. That's it. I spelled that wrong, I think. There it is. So FPV King OTG receiver. This is a single antenna version. $27. That's too much. Hold on. Let's just steal the name of this. So it's going to be 5.8. Forgot to get that in there. 5.8 video receiver, USB. No, it doesn't have USB in it. It has, well, what if we just search for that? There we go. Okay, here you go. So FPV King here, 5.8. This is the single antenna, non-diversity version, which works totally fine. And then here for $36.99 is the diversity version. In theory, the diversity version works a little bit better. I don't know anything about this Wolf Whoop one. Maybe it's okay. I don't know. But yeah, they are USB out. And then here's another one here. They're USB out, which you can run into your computer, and it's just going to come in as like a video source. And then in OBS, it just accepts it as a video source. And you're going to have a piece of software, though, to display that video source. For me, that software is OBS. So just kind of keep that in mind. It doesn't come with any software. It is sold as like hook up to your smartphone, and I guess maybe there's an app that they have you download. I don't know anything about that. I'm on iPhone, and it does not work with iPhone. Let me get caught up on chat here. William Loesch says, no, we got it. So William, those cycling gigs are why I'm building this AOS Cine25, so that I have a sub 250 gram backup rig. But for that NCL Miami Beach event, this is what I was flying. This is the old school. It used to be called QAV Cine Freibot edition. Now there's a version 2 of it where you don't get the fancy neochrome colored standoffs. They're just black standoffs, I think. And it's called the QAV Pro. 2.5-inch propellers, onboard Vista with the DJI camera. That outputs, of course, to my V2 goggles, and then that is hooked up through USB to a DJI Smart Controller, and then that outputs through HDMI to a couple of little boxes that these multi-million-dollar TV trucks have that then send to fiber op wires that they run drops all around the race course. And yeah, this worked shockingly well in Miami Beach. I was really scared that it wasn't going to have enough power to either keep up or to fight the wind, because we were literally on the beach. And I should have put a little bit more pitchy propellers on here. I think there's one propeller that has more pitch than these. These are the Gemfan 2540s. And I will be doing a little bit of testing with those props here as the next event on May 6th comes up. But other than that, yeah, it's great. On this AOS Cine25 rig, this is going to be on 1404 motors that are a higher KV, 1404 T motor, 4500 KV on 4S. This guy is on Zing 1504 motors, which are only 3900 KV. So these bigger motors are going to want a more pitchy propeller. These 2540s, 40 pitch. That's a lot of pitch. But they're kind of a thinner blade. There's a tri-blade Gemfan propeller meant for ducted applications that looks like it has more pitch. And usually the Cinewoop props do have more pitch because they're designed to lift up, a hell of a payload. So, but the problem with the Cinewoop propellers is that the end of the blade is just flat because it's meant to be, against a duct. And when you don't put a propeller like that in a duct, the high and low pressure zones at the end of the propeller make a big area of turbulence, and that can be significantly less efficient than a propeller like these 2540s, which have a tip that's more aerodynamically designed like an airplane wing, which is there to manage those high and low pressure zones on the top and bottom of the blade mixing together. And efficiency is a really big deal with these things, like being able to do, because we're, these cyclists are going 30, 35, 40 miles an hour sometimes. These little fellas with 2.5-inch props are really working hard. And to stay under 250 grams, you can't just put a big giant battery on it. Not that you would want to anyway, because that would wreck the flight characteristics. And you're live flying, right? So your FPV view is the output to this TV truck. So it has to be locked in. It has to be dialed in, and weight really ruins that. So it's a really cool engineering challenge, to be honest. Because you got to keep the weight down. It's got to be fully guarded so that if you bump into a rider, nothing bad happens and you can keep flying. It doesn't fall out of the air and, cause a pile up. You got to have efficiency, but you also have to have speed. And then you also have to have really good PID loop performance, because you're going to have headwinds and side winds and swirling winds off the buildings and shit like that, and the scaffolding that they're putting up. And so yeah, it's really cool. It's a really challenging kind of balance, but this is a really good first kind of shot at it. I'm super interested to see how the smaller motors that are higher KV are going to do over here on this AOS Cine25. And then I'm also planning on building a 3.5-inch version with the AOS Cine35. I don't know what motors. I might actually use these same motors from here, these 1504 3900s, and put bi-blades on this 3.5-inch. Look at the size difference between these two. Isn't that fucking crazy? Yeah, I'm going to try to run this on bi-blades to really get like a super efficient rig. It's probably not going to be under 250 grams, which sucks. But we'll see. If I can get it, if I can get this to like, I don't know, 230, 220 grams dry, there are batteries that would keep it under 250. So, but we'll see. I'm going to do the build regardless. If it ends up being too heavy, this is just going to become a Cinewhoop. And it's I've been really interested in this frame for a while as a Cinewhoop. The box frames are really, really interesting. From like when you look at the side profile of a box frame, and it's like, you realize that it's like very see-through. It's a really interesting kind of platform. And then they have like removable ducts. So if you want to slow it down, so the QAV Cine comes with foam ducts, which I think is just brilliant. This is one of my favorite things about this rig. These don't weigh anything. The Cine25 and the 35, you can 3D print these little. They're not really ducts. They're just, I don't know what the hell they are, but you can print these out of TPU and then snap them in. TPU is infinitely heavier than this foam. But yeah, if you want to slow the thing down and make it a little bit more safe, you just put these little foam things. They're tough to fit on the front because I have these TPU guards. They will absolutely fit, but just for illustration purposes here. Oh, and I have a couple of zip ties here that are making this really difficult. But yeah, they just snap on like that. And so now it's going to be, it's a lot louder. Jesus Christ, is it a lot louder. But it's going to be a lot slower. Once it has this blocking, you would not believe how much slower this rig becomes with this little stupid piece of foam and there's 4 of them. But yeah, it is really incredible how much it slows it down. It also makes it way more susceptible to the wind, though, and that's really the magic of these box frames when they don't have those, I don't know what to call them, wind blockers, I guess, installed. Is this thing is slidey, and the wind can blow right through it, and it'll cover ground. The flight characteristics are much better, much better than a Cinewhoop that is set up with guards or ducts. But flight characteristics aren't everything. Like typical Cinewhoops, the whole point is to fly very slow. So there's been this like really big push towards box frames and prop guarded frames for cinematic use, and it's really sketchy because like somebody's gonna get hurt, and it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like you have to fly when they don't have these guards, you have to fly them very flat in order to go slowly, and when you fly them really flat, the throttle resolution becomes like infinitely more difficult. It's much better if you're going to be flying slow to have a fully ducted rig. Just aerodynamically, it works so much better, and it makes your job as a pilot much easier because you're going to be able to put the nose down a bunch to go that same slow speed, and then it's not going to be as sensitive on the throttle to elevation changes. Because just think of the thrust vector, right? When you're flying really flat, all of your thrust is going straight down. So all of the thrust is going to make the elevation changes, is going to make the elevation change. Whereas the more nose down you go, the more of that thrust is being spilled rearwards. So you've got less thrust going down, so your throttle resolution gets like immeasurably better. That's why like when you're flying really fast, you can control your elevation really easily because there's only a little bit of thrust vector in the downward direction to make yourself gain and lose altitude. So yeah, there you go. There's a bunch of jibber jabber that nobody asked for. But that you needed to know, damn it. I'm going to see Snarky Puppy this Friday. I'm very excited about that. Very, very excited. All right, let's get caught up on chat here. Actually, let's do this. I'm going to pull chat over, and I'm going to fire up the bench cam, and we're going to start working on the AOS Cine25. What do you think of that? All right, I'm clicking a button that'll make the video quality get quite a bit better. Just give it a second here. And away we shall go. So chat is now over here. Let me get a question or two to talk about. Why is this Woke Snail Fund in such a weird... Oh, farts. I clicked the wrong thing. In such a weird location. What the hell is happening here? There we go. That's better. Oh, now that's it. That's the move right there. Okay, I think that's about it, right? Wes said... Oh, no, we got that. Bob Noxious says, nothing greedy about setting worth where it's supposed to be. Very true. Very, very true. The other thing to remember about FPV and like how much to charge and like why we should charge a ton of money is there's a ton of setup. And like the 6+ years that I've put into learning how to do this shit and learning how to do these builds and troubleshoot them and figure out which builds are going to perform the best, that's all included, yo. But not only that, it's like you're going to spend a lot of time charging batteries, and you're going to spend a lot of time customizing the rig for the specific gig. And then you're going to spend a lot of time discharging batteries, and you're going to spend a lot of time wrangling your footage. And the whole process is so incredibly time consuming. It is much different than photography drones, which are to some extent just like spend a whole bunch of money at Best Buy and then fuck around on your phone with the controller, and that's kind of it. Obviously, there's way more to it than that, but you know, to some extent, like yeah, the amount of setup is way, way, way different, and that's something that like it's tough to justify, right? Like we get a lot of lowball offers from people that just have no concept of that. And it's our job to explain that, right? Like it doesn't do any good being like, these fucking people don't understand. It's like, well, guess what? It's you know, if you want the gig, it's literally your job to make them understand that. Like that's a part of your job. It's a part of your job that you're probably not gonna like, and I certainly don't like. But you know, life's imperfect, yo. If you're going to fly drones for a living, you're going to have to do something that you don't like, because god damn it, is it fun to get paid to fly. Jesus. BeepTube says maybe there's a market that can support it in France, but not in the US. BeepTube, so many people in the cycling world are saying exactly that. But unfortunately in France, I mean, just in Europe in general, they are way more strict on drones, and they are much less willing to let drones cover their events, especially because there was a drone accident already, I think it was last year, at a cycling event, and that left like a really big black mark. And this is one of the reasons that I'm like, yo, please don't ruin it for everyone. That was something that kind of ruined it for everyone in Europe. I forget what the deal was. Somebody told me, but we'd both been drinking for a while, and I don't remember. I don't remember what the deal was, but yeah, it's a real concern. It's like, it's one of the things that I have like legitimate nightmares about, is that some goddamn company is going to hire the cheapest FPV pilot that they can find, and it's going to be someone that's new. And when you're new, you just, like, when bad things happen, you don't make the right decisions a lot of times. And yeah, I mean, there's just so much potential for all of this to get completely blown for our entire community because of something like that. And it's like, you know, who's to blame? Like, there is nothing that says, like, unfortunately, I wish the FAA did something like this, but there is no, like, you have to fly and prove that you're somewhat competent to be able to do stuff, right? Like, the Part 107 is worthless. It's a fucking test that's almost identical to the test that they give actual pilots. And, like, for actual pilots, it makes a lot of sense. But for us, most of it makes very little sense. Like, most of the stuff on the Part 107 test has no relevance to us whatsoever. Are there a couple of things there that are relevant to us? Of course. But the majority of it is completely worthless. And that's like a real shame. I wish that the FAA would have some sort of a testing procedure in place. But I mean, we're such a niche within a niche that, like, it's kind of unrealistic. But I mean, that's really what we need, right? Like, getting your license to fly over people and all the things that the Part 107 affords you. You should it should be like a fucking driver's license test, you know? Like, there should be there should be someone judging it that is gonna watch you and maybe be buddy boxed with you, that is going to make a determination of whether or not you are comfortable enough and experienced enough and honestly just kind of good enough to be flying in situations that are a little bit more sketchy. So, I don't know. It's something that I think about, and it's something that freaks me out. Like, I want to do this forever. But a lot of times it just, with some of the shit that I see people doing, it's just like, yeah, this ain't forever, yo. Be lucky if this lasts until the end of the week. Sometimes it feels like. But Erickson says, is Aniston the next cycling event? It certainly is. May 6th. Very excited. I don't always do this, but I'm going to tin both sides of these pads. It's a way of just getting a little bit more solder onto these, which is never really a bad thing. It's kind of silly to do unless you're going to use the little cutouts on the end, but whatever. We're here. Let's just knock it out real quick. The other thing that it kind of keeps from happening is sometimes when you're soldering the wire up on the top of the pad, gravity will pull some of the solder downwards, and then you'll end up with not enough solder up on the top of the pad, and that's not great. So this kind of prevents that from happening, because there's going to be enough solder on both the top and the bottom where it's essentially like the bottom of the path isn't going to be trying to grab the solder off the top of the pad because there's already going to be some solder on the bottom. You don't want to put a lot on the bottom though, because you don't want it to become like a big thick solder blob that touches the base plate and catches your shit on fire. So you're just adding a little bit, just to kind of cover the pad up. That's all. Oh no, one more. There we go. Cool. Yeah, there's some serious solder fumes there. So next question is, which direction is the well, no, hold on. First, you completionists, I'm going to make your day. On yesterday's live stream, a couple people were like, for the love of God, if you don't put the other two standoff screws in and leave that flight controller ESC weeble wobbling around, we are going to lose our minds. So for those people, you're going to love this. Free Lojo is out of here. Thanks for hanging, homie. Remy Tim says, you better not be coming to Denver and think you get away without seeing your boy. If you fly out a day or two early, I'll take you mountain flying. Very cool. I won't really be able to bring anything that would be mountain flyable. Like, everything that I'm going to bring is going to be specifically geared towards... like, my bag is absolutely filled with what I need to do these live flying events. But I will absolutely go watch you go mountain flying and be your visual observer. That would be a fucking blast. I don't even know when the Denver event is on the calendar yet, but as soon as I know, I'll let you know, brother, for sure. Kevin Sumner says, but the bodies and riders have to know where their bread gets buttered. It's spectators. Very true. Very true. The organizing bodies that this group that's been hiring me on to do these events, the organizing bodies that they have convinced to allow us to do this have been absolutely thrilled with the quality and with the attention that it gets and the feedback and all the things. So it is going to, as long as nothing bad happens, it is going to continue to grow. And that's really cool because these sub 250 rigs, they're not going to, I mean, like, they certainly have the potential to cause, like, something else to happen. But, like, the drone itself is not going to hurt anybody. A sub 250 rig is not going to do shit. So, yeah, as long as we... I don't know. It's the footage that we can get, though, there's no arguing that it's just mind-blowing for, like, these live sporting or just live events in general. It really is magic. And it works really, really, really well. So, yeah. Hopefully it keeps growing. That's what she said. Freeloader, we got that. Mavhu says, thanks, check it out. We got that. 661 says, I know you don't... farts. I know you don't prefer HQ props, but I've been using some new 2.5-inch HQ props that are working really well and seem to have more pitch than the GemFan 2540s and are super durable. Well, don't keep me in suspense. What the hell are they? Oh, there he is. He said 2.5 by 3.5 by 3. I did not know that those existed. I'm going to look those up in 1 second. I've got those on there. I'm going to throw a couple of these little 1mm spacers on here. And away we shall go. Okay, and just for the time being, I'm going to put this in here because I want to figure out the situation with the... Good thing I turned this fan on to blow the soldering fumes away after I already finished up. Alright, so... What was I just going to look up? Oh, yeah. There it is. Let's see. Oh, is it these old school ones? So these are there are a couple of different old ass HQ props that are 2.5. There's a 2.5 by 2.5. There's also a 2.5 by 3.5. I ran these props way back in the day. I love that they come in this purple. These are not very efficient, and they're also extremely heavy. They're like a very dense, very thick plastic. I'm surprised that you said that they're durable. I found these to be not durable at all. See, like right in here, these would break between the hub and the blade like crazy because they have like it really pinches. See how it really like pinches down in that little joint there? I had a really hard time with durability with these props. Is there a newer version maybe? Let's just do this. Let's just go to... I've been actually meaning to do this. Let's go to the Big Four. And let's take a look at what they've got in 2.5-inch propellers. So we're going to sort by 2.5. And we're going to go in here, micro. And where's prop length? And we're going to go 2.5. And we're going to come in here. Enough with the pop-ups, you jerks. 2.5. And then Pyrodrone. Oh, man. Come on. Really? Okay. That's how you find their 2.5s. Okay, so what do we got here? We've got, here are the GemFan 2540s that I've been using that are pretty good. I can almost guarantee you that this 2540 on the 1404 4500 kV motors is going to just be beautiful. Oh, wow. I didn't know this was a thing. What a horrible color, though. Interesting. Dow, more Cinewhoop specific, right? It's got the really flat end of the jibby jabby. That color's a little bit better, a little bit more yellow. These Avan Rush 2.5s are my favorite of the 2.5-inch props, but unfortunately they're not very pitchy at all. I think they're like 2.4 pitch. No, they're even less than that. They're 1.9 pitch. If you can put enough RPM into these, though, these are brilliant. Super durable, super efficient. This is one hell of a propeller, but I just wish it had more pitch, man. 1.9 pitch is very, very low. I will definitely try these on the AOS Cine25, but I do not have very high hopes for them, unfortunately, just because you got to put so much RPM into them. These Azure Power 2540s are okay. I have these in my big bag of old propellers. These are an older propeller. I have been meaning to try these, though. So we'll see. We'll see how they are. The green, that's a hell of a green color. Really nice. So that's Pyrodrone selection. Let's see what Race Day Quads has. So there is this even lower pitch GemFan Hurricane 2512. I've yet to find a motor that can spin these things fast enough to get any power out of them. These HQ Octo and 6 blades, these are just going to be horrendously inefficient. These really need to be inside of a duct to have any chance of really working. There's that Dow Cyclone again. Oh, it's 2530. So that is too low. If I'm gonna run an inefficient propeller that has that bull nose on the end, you better believe it's gonna have some pitch to it, and 30 pitch is nowhere near enough. Here's the GemFan D63 tri-blade Cinewhoop prop. So this is what I'm gonna be moving the QAV Pro over to. This, I think, is gonna be more pitchy than the 2540. Here's the Azure 2540s again. This is interesting, an HQ 63 tri-blade. But in my experience, the GemFan Cinewhoop props are way more efficient and thrusty than the HQs. Like, if you just look at the propeller blade design, like HQ's blade design looks like it's from 15 years ago. And GemFan's blade design looks like it's at least from, this century. HQ 65 by 3. What are these? So this is a more current blade design from them. Very low pitch, 1.5 pitch. So yeah, you're gonna have to turn these at 1 billion RPM to get any power out of them. 2.5 by 2. Again, a little bit too low of a pitch. Look at Happy Model. Happy Model has a propeller. What the hell? It looks like it's center T-mount only. All right, CiottiFPV. What do you guys got? Same stuff. iFlight has a 2.5. That's interesting. Just out of curiosity, do they give a pitch? 2.5 inch pitch. That's not enough pitch. Great that there's another propeller that exists. 2.5 really does not have many propeller designs. Propeller options, I should say. Azure, the old HQs. You know what? I am gonna dig up my bag of HQ 2.5 by 3.5s because this 1504 is such a beefy motor. It might be able to turn that heavy of a propeller, and I should have them in that really amazing. This purple color is just so cool. So I am probably gonna give those a shot. I'd forgotten about those, to be honest. Yeah, it's just them in black. There's the 2540s up here. And then, yeah, more 2540s. And now let's check Newbie Drone, see if they have anything unbelievable. So, yeah, GemFan also has a 5-blade Cinewoop propeller. But, again, it's going to be really inefficient from having so many blades. 2540, 2512. Here's that HQ. Does it give me a pitch on this? Oh, yeah, it does. 1.5. You know what? Let me actually look at that. All right, so we're good here. Let me look at that HQ tri-blade Cinewoop propeller. Here it is, HQ Duct T63. Let's see if there's a pitch on these. If these are like 50 pitch or something like that, that would be incredible. What? What? 1.5. How the fuck do you make a Cinewoop propeller that's 1.5 pitch? Hopefully that's not right. That's ridiculous. That's awful if that's the real pitch. That's a terrible Cinewoop propeller. If that's the real pitch on it. That's really weird. Here they are on another website. Let's see. Nope, they're copy and pasting the same thing. Hopefully that is not right, because that's a worthless Cinewoop propeller if it's that low of a pitch. You want more pitch with Cinewoop props, not less. The only reason to go with less pitch is if you're putting more blades on it, but that kind of defeats the purpose. I've never seen a pitch on these GemFan D63s. I don't know if I've ever looked, though. Hey, there's a pitch. 3 inches of pitch. All right, so I will probably not like those as much as the 2540s because the pitch is lower. But we'll give it a shot. Sometimes the pitch does not match the performance of the propeller. So, yeah, you really have to just kind of put them up in the air and see what's what. But from looking at all these websites, the two most pitchy propellers are the Azure 2540s and the GemFan 2540s. So, yeah. And with what I'm doing, like, pitch is what I want. I don't want crazy high KV, crazy high RPM. I want the pitchiest possible propeller because I'm trying to go fast. If you're trying to go fast and you want throttle resolution while you're going fast, you want a lot of pitch on the propeller. If you're trying to be really efficient and or go slow, like long range type stuff, then you want a lower pitch propeller. With freestyle flying, we're also really gravitating towards the lower pitch propellers. I think the majority of that, though, is due to the fact that the lower pitch propellers are lighter weight, and that lets the PID loop work better. It lowers the response time, which improves PID loop performance. So yeah, I think that has the most to do with it there. But yeah, for what I'm trying to do, I want as much pitch as possible. and there aren't many options in 2.5 inch. So it's tough, man. 2.5 is a shitty size, to be really honest. I wish that there was an AOS Cine30. That would probably, or a QAV Cine that's 3.5 inch, 3 inch prop. That would probably be a much better scenario because I could run the Gemfan 3052, 52 pitch propeller, and that would just be brilliant. But can't always get what you want. Somebody should write a song about that. Denzel the Terrible says, what is the all-up weight of the QAV Cine? Do you think the AOS will be much less? It will definitely not be much less. It will be significantly heavier. Well, not significantly heavier, but it will definitely be heavier. On the first day of this AOS Cine build, we weighed it and weighed all the things, and the AOS Cine25 frame is 13 or 14 grams heavier than the QAV Cine frame, which is a lot when you're trying to keep it under 250. So the 1404 motors on this are going to save me 10-ish grams of weight. I'll have to find the extra few grams somewhere else. But yeah, the AOS is significantly heavier than the QAV. Not significantly, but it's heavier. No One FPV says bumpers. That's exactly what they're called. Bumpers. It's a great name for them. Remy Tim says, when are you coming to Denver? I don't know yet. I don't think they have a date for that event quite yet. But I'll let you know. Remy Tim says, yeah, you can crash one of my rigs in the mountains. And if I'm available, I'd be glad to be your visual observer at the race. I would love that, dude. I would absolutely love that. That'd be great. Mav Who says, what is the best toolkit with a soldering iron for a beginner? I want to build my first quad, looking for a kit that I can use. I have links down in the description of all my videos and there's a tools section, and there's some good stuff in there. I think all of the toolkits are probably great. I have just a random assortment of tools. So yeah, I'm not the best guy to ask, but yeah, I do have some tool suggestions down below that you can check out. Chat, you guys got any suggestions for toolkits that are good and or not good? Denzel the Terrible says, don't you put gummies in your ESC holes? Am I doing that wrong? I like to do that, but this ESC is unfortunately drilled for M2. So it's impossible to put rubber grommets into this ESC. I'm kind of worried that the second that I put power to this, that it's going to explode, because the Vista puts voltage, I think, through its mounting holes, and I'm worried that the gold that I'm seeing around the mounting holes of this ESC here are, yeah, grounded or something weird. I'm just going to use a Vifly smoke stopper the first time I plug this thing in, and hopefully it doesn't just immediately trip, because otherwise I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess I can try the whole zip tie the Vista down thing, but I don't love that idea. So yeah, I don't know what I'll do in that case. Let's figure out the XT30 on the ESC. So this rig at the moment is upside down. So, and I like to have my battery lead come out towards me when I'm holding the rig with the camera to the left here. So basically I want this lead to come out this side, and so I want to hook it up to the ESC like that. And then the only other thing I need to figure out is how much wire length I want. So let's kind of fish it through there. And what I always like to do is get the XT60 lead into the battery strap, so that the battery strap holds it against the battery itself. That's one of the easiest and slickest ways to keep your battery from coming unplugged. So we're going to have a battery strap kind of through, well, it's going to be up through here. This sits up on top here. So let's just kind of mock this up. So there's going to be a battery strap there. This wire is going to come out here, and I'm going to want it to sit pretty much exactly right there. And now I've got a little bit of extra cable on here, just enough. Big battery, small battery, won't really matter. And all right, so that's kind of in the right position right now. So let's do this. We're going to take this flight controller off and move it out of the way here. Hold on to this guy and cut these leads down. Okay, so the positive lead, I'm going to snip right here. And then the negative or ground, I'm going to snip right down here. And all right, I always make sure to cut the leads at different lengths so that when I solder them up, I typically solder battery leads up very sideways to the ESC. And if the leads are the same, if you do that with the leads the same length, it's just ugly and it's just a mess. And there's always one wire that's way longer and it just sucks. So if you're going to run your leads sideways like I do, make sure that you cut them to the right lengths. And then it'll sit nice and flat and the wires will sit together and there won't be this one wire that's just begging to get sliced. So, all right. Soldering iron is coming down to standby voltage. Woke it back up there. So let's take a look at how much. These are pretty wide pads, so I need to strip off a good chunk of this wire. And this is actually a little bit too thick for me to do it with my fingernails. So I'm going to use flush cutters and I'm just going to really, really, really gently go around here. And now I'm going to, might as well do the voltage lead as well. Real gentle. You're just trying to dent the silicone. And now you're going to come in with your fingernails and kind of dig them in. And if you do it right, you can look on the inside of the little bit that you stripped off and you should not see any silver strands. Technically speaking, if there are silver strands in there, you should retire this and do it again with a fresh one. Or if you left yourself some extra length, just snip it. But I do not. I cut these things the exact right length. All right, and for the ground wire. So I've got one strand. I've got one strand that I accidentally nicked and it pulled out. On a big thick wire like this, this is 16 gauge. That does not matter. There are plenty of internal strands of wire here. If you're doing a 30 gauge wire, on the other hand, these little guys, and you nick one of the inner strands of wire, there are typically only 8 strands of wire in there. So if you nick one and it breaks off, that's reduced the throughput by what, like 12%? I don't know how to do the math, but yeah, that is a lot more of a big deal with these 30 gauge wires. If you're running them to like an LED that's going to draw a bunch of power or something like that. If it's just powering like a Crossfire Nano, you're going to be completely fine. But yeah. Gamma Gonad says the HQ 2.5 by 3.5 by 3s are what I'm currently running on my Cine25 thing, hauls ass on 1207s. Really? I can't believe you guys are using those old ass ancient HQ props. I'll give them a shot for sure. I have a whole shitload of them. I was actually one of the ones that pointed out to a couple of resellers that there were 2 different versions of that prop. There was a 2.5 pitch and a 3.5 pitch. There were some weird listings at the time because the 2 props look completely identical. So it's kind of easy to mistake one for the other. Mistake them as the same item, rather. And like 2.5 is just such a bastard child of a size. So off the edge of the desk, I'm just tinning this wire real quick. You guys have seen me tin wires a million times. Nothing super exciting here. Bringing the soldering iron up from below and then pushing solder down from above in the attempt to push solder in between each individual strand of wire so that you get a nice big blob of solder on the end of your wires here. It didn't quite penetrate all the way through the bottom because I was in a rush, so I'm going to really quickly flip this thing over and now tin the other side real quick. No big deal. Alright, there we go. Beautiful. Alright, now we're cooking. So this is getting this exactly right on the at a crazy angle on these ESCs is a little bit challenging. A little challenging. So just kind of remember all the fundamentals, get a good amount of flux on here, and be patient and be ready to have to rework this. I'm going to take my bigger tweezers here that have a little bit more grip, and I'm going to do I always try to do the shorter one first because the longer one is going to like be on top. So get it grabbed here. Hold on. Let me go to the other camera to give you guys a nice view of this. As good of a view as I can. Okay. And Craig Mitchell says all my drivers end up running into the screw. What are those box drivers you're using? I think that's what they're called. So this is made by Wiha, W-I-H-A, and there's the number on it if you want to get one for yourself. It's not that deep, but it's like deep enough. Yeah, I don't know. It's that deep. It's about the same size as this ESC. Wiha makes excellent stuff. German company. Gamma says too fast, actually. I've been slowly motor limiting the 5,000 kV motors to get the best results. Yeah, 5,000 kV is a lot. A lot. All right, let's get this XT30 on here. Enough screwing around. So let me just figure out how I'm going to hold this wire perfectly still and in exactly the spot that I want. Let's actually not do this on the wood block. Let's do this on the thermally resistive putty here because it's going to hold the ESC in place a lot better. It's not going to give me as much room to kind of work. You know what? I can do this barehanded. I can do this with my bare hands. So I'm going to give myself enough distance on this wire so that I don't get burned while it's drying or cooling rather. But yeah, if you can do it by hand, man, the dexterity that you get from using your fingers is really nice. All right, cool. So this is looking good. Let me actually just put a little bit of flux on these wires though, and that'll really kick off the heat transfer when I first touch the soldering iron to them. It's also nice doing the positive lead first because you're going to put a bunch of heat into the board, and then the ground won't be as much of a nightmare. Ground pads are always tied into the ground plane, which absorbs a lot of the heat from the soldering iron. Here we go! Try to get this as quick and smooth as I can before I get burned. So there's the wire going full liquid, and now there's the pad going full liquid. Give it a little bit of time, get it nice and flat on the pad, exactly where I want it, and remove the heat. And just hold it still. Do not blow on it. Just hold it still. And there we go. No big deal. Nice and shiny, nice and smooth. Just enough solder on there. Could have been a little bit less solder, but I prefer having a little bit more to having a little bit less. You guys know exactly what I mean. And now I'm just checking to make sure that the silicone is, yep, perfect. Silicone is right off the side of the pad. I could have pushed down a little bit to flatten the wires out, but I don't know. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Okay, so now we're going to do the ground lead. And now's where things can, not always, but can get a little bit more difficult. Put this up at an angle like this, and then I can kind of come down here. One of the things I like to do is stagger these a little bit when I'm doing this little maneuver here. So I'll just create a little bit of an angle here, just so that if I need to get to this pad, I can. The other option is just to stack them up like this. And I mean, it's not, I mean, it's no big deal, but this is just kind of the way that I like to do it. I'm sure the way that you're doing it is completely fine, but this is how I do it. And so a little bit of an angle, make sure that the silicone is going to hang off the edge of the pad so I can get the wire nice and flat. This is probably going to burn me if I hold it this close, so let's see if I can just kind of back off a little bit here. That should be totally fine. Alright, I'm just using my middle finger to kind of maneuver it. Alright, wire goes liquid. Feeling for the pad to go liquid, there goes the pad. Continue to dump heat into it, get it in the exact right spot. And remove the heat and stay nice and still. Index finger starting to burn. Good to go. And cool. That looks really, really nice, actually. The interesting bit is going to be, can I get the capacitor onto these pads as well, ouch, without wrecking these joints that I just did here. There are two little slots in these pads, which I can no longer see, that I was hoping to get the leads from this capacitor to kind of hook up with at a little bit of an angle here. But I'm kind of second guessing that now. I also want to kind of take the angle. There's too much of a run here. I really want to get this thing tight to the ESC pad. So I'm going to take this little angle out that I'd put in here, and I'm going to put a 90-degree in a lot closer. I love that. I hate these little legs, man. Like, I always feel like they're right about to break, because they kind of are always right about to break. Brandon Rapine says, didn't know you're on right now still. I've been back from ripping for a while now, and I've been catching up on emails. Yeah, YouTube's notification system is just the goddamn worst. Wow, I'm super behind on chat. Jesus, this stream's going to go long. Okay, that's fine. Boondock Striker says, I was doing power loops today, 75mm 30-gram Mobilite 7. When I started to pull out of the dive, I slipped to the right really fast. Was this prop washed? No. If it was yaw, if it rotated, then that was yaw washout. That's just what tiny whoops do, unfortunately. More powerful motors will help with that quite a bit, but even with the most powerful motors, that is just sort of a thing, unfortunately. So yeah, it's that is an inherent issue with all ducted rigs, that there's just not really like a solution to. It's just kind of the way that they handle. You can try switching from props in to props out, or vice versa. I don't think that that'll help all that much, but you could certainly try that. Yeah, it's just kind of one of the little quirks of the way that ducted rigs fly. Nobody loves it, but it's nature of the beast, I guess. I have a different idea for how I want to do this. Instead of using those little pockets in the board, because I'm probably not going to be able to find them. I'm going to hook this thing up to the bottom, and I'm going to bend these little legs outwards to use the length of these pads on the bottom. So basically, I'm going to straighten these back out. This is bad that I'm bending and unbending and bending and unbending these. I'm just asking for these little legs to break. Okay. So I'm now going to bend these outwards. Let me take a look at how much length I realistically need, because I need it to clear that. Okay, so I'll do it right around there. Inexact science to doing this, because once you get this soldered onto it, you're then gonna like move it all. You're then gonna like bend it up at an angle, and so it ends up getting all moved around anyway. But that looks pretty good. Let's do that on this side as well. And these guys outwards. Get them a little bit straightened out here. Okay, cool. That's looking really nice. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So, yeah, this guy's going to sit down here, and then that'll get a nice big contact patch on these, on the legs of this damn thing to those pads on the bottom. And also, in theory, that will not mess up the leads being up on the top there. So let's clip these guys down to length. Looks like right at that little jib jab. Okay, yeah, so it's not going to be super long, but it'll be long enough. Right around there. And then right around there. Oh man, I fell on the carpet. I hate when those fall on the carpet. They are so sharp. Oh man, it still smells like dog piss over here. That little bastard dog. How dare Jack pee on the carpet? How dare he? All right, so let's see how this is going to sit on here. Positive on this side, ground on that side. Oh, perfect. Wow, goddamn. I cut those to the exact right length. All right, cool. So let's get this on here. Let's come here, and we're going to point this down a little bit. And I'm going to try to figure out a way to get this putty to hold all the things. I want it to hold the capacitor as well as the ESC. So let's put that there like that. We got positive to positive, ground to ground. All right, so it's not going to want to do it. So let's do this. Let's just get the ESC solidly on here, and then I'll just hold the capacitor in place. Yeah, that's going to work. Get some flux everywhere. Okay. Here we go. Get this little capacitor on here, and then that's kind of all we can do until the motors get here. We're all tinned up, and I can screw some stuff together, but I might need to take it back apart once the motors get here. I'm going to tin the tip of the soldering iron to make sure that I get some good heat transfer, because I really want to be quick here. There we go. There's one. And here comes the ground. All right, so this one's fighting me a little bit, so let's need to come in at a little bit of a better angle. There we go. That's going to be better. Add a little bit more solder to the tip of the iron. You guys aren't going to be able to see this, but There it goes, fully melted and off. Awesome. Nice big solder blob. Hold it still for a second here. And now we've got, oops, the little legs just kind of like up in there. And you can barely even tell that they're there because there's just a big old solder blob holding them down. Let me take a look with the 5X loop here. If you don't have one of these, you need to get one. This is a really important tool. Ground lead is a cold solder joint. So let me put some more heat into the into that ground lead. There is a very distinct, yeah, I didn't get enough heat into the ground side of this. Not surprising. I'm gonna dump a bunch of flux on it this time. All right, cool. And again, you guys aren't really gonna be able to see this, but just take my word for it. The solder is melting. And the heat is transferring. There we go. That's better. That's much better. Hold it still. And let's take another quick look. Oh yeah, much, much, much better. Cool. Yeah, that's good to go. And it did not affect the ground lead up on top. Very cool. All right, so this is now good. This capacitor is right off the back here, which should fit completely fine against the Vista, but let's double check that. Capacitor actually feels really solid mounted like this. I think because it's usually when I've mounted the legs of the capacitor directly to an ESC, there's a longer gap, and the little legs are just a really thin kind of shitty tin material. And so yeah, it looks like if you keep a tiny little gap there, it doesn't feel nearly as flimsy. I stopped doing it because it felt so flimsy, and I worried about it. So let's see, will it clear? It will indeed. Look at that. So there is going to be a oh, tell me it's not hitting the base plate. Fuck me, it's hitting the base plate. All right, I'm gonna have to rework this. I did not think about that. Damn it. So I need to get it angled upwards a little bit, and unfortunately the negative lead is like right in the way. So what I'm actually going to do is stack this negative lead up. The negative lead is pointing outwards a little bit. I'm going to just rotate it in, and that'll give the capacitor enough room to just angle upwards, and that should get it to clear the base plate. That was kind of a dumb move on my part. Get some flux on here to get the heat transfer going as quick as possible on the rework. It's important to do that when you rework these. And I'm just going to do this right on the silicone here. Keeping the big part of the soldering iron on this pad to transfer as much heat as possible, as quickly as possible. And there we go. Now it's sitting on the back of the pad. I need to scooch it forward a little bit. Let's heat it back up as quickly as we can. Come on, buddy. Come on. There we go. Okay, and slide it forward. Fingers burning like absolute hell. Ah, goddamn. But we got it. And it still looks good. It's still like a nice smooth joint. There doesn't look to be a big old cold solder seam in it. Yeah, the problem is it's sitting up on the pad. I'm going to have to... Well, no, you know what? It's not going to sit down any better than that because now the way that they're stacked up on top of each other, the silicone insulation is hitting the other pad. This should be fine. I don't love how hard this is sitting up on how high this is sitting up on the pad, but it should be fine because of the way that this thing is going to be routed. It's really not going to get, there's not much of a chance of this getting pulled. So now I should be able to, yep, there we go, tilt this capacitor up a bunch, and that should get me a bunch more clearance down below. Let's check it. Yeah, I can already tell it's better. Oh man, that is like right there. That should work. It is sitting on the base plate, and I mean it's fine. Nothing wrong with that. What I'm more concerned with is how much extra red cable there is here. I did not think about the direction that this cable was going to bend once it goes through here. But before I go farting with anything else, let's take a look. So this is going to sit. So let's just throw this on here just to get it to stop wobbling around. Oh, farts. All right, so I'm going to have to really space this flight controller out because now that black battery cable is getting really close to the flight controller. But that's okay. These screws have a ton of length on them. So I'll be able to space this out all the way up here, and that'll keep it away. That's the other reason that I like to angle these guys outwards. This is why I don't like putting these capacitors directly on the pads. There's too much going on in that space that they're kind of competing for. But in this case, we're going to be okay, because I was planning on running this flight controller up really high to give more of an air gap for the ESC to stay nice and cool. So we're going to be all right. This is going to be fine. Oh, and yeah, I can just, I just fixed it. We're fine. So front of the quad is here. So this cable is going to come up. Nope, it is perfect. That is perfect. The red wire has a bunch of extra, which allows it to make this little angle here. You know, it's going the long way around here. So this is actually kind of perfect. These wires ended up being the exact right length. I got a little lucky on that, if I'm honest, but it's okay. I'll take luck. So that's all the soldering, really. I mean, now I just need the motors to get here tomorrow. I'll zap those on here, and then the rest of the frame is going to get bolted together. It really doesn't make any sense to bolt anything else together here until I can get the motors on. So yeah, I'm going to pull this Vista off, and I'm going to put a piece of heat transfer tape below it to help the Vista shed some of its heat into the carbon fiber frame to act like an extra little heat sink. Use one of these plugs that they give you to just quickly plug these two things in. This flight controller and ESC are both made by Diatone, so they will just plug right in. And then, yeah, screw a million screws back down once everything is together here on the bottom plate. And that's it, man. This build is, it doesn't look like it, but it's pretty much good to go. And that's pretty cool, because I can start... I'm going to push this thing really hard to make sure that this ESC and flight controller don't explode. So I'm going to do a bunch of testing this week, next week, to pound on this thing to make sure it's going to be really reliable. Yeah, cool. Let me get caught up on chat, and then we'll shut this shit down. Ugh. All right. What's up, chat? What are you guys talking about? Titan says, best AIO for a super high KV whoop. The only AIO that I can possibly recommend for a whoop at this point is the one that comes with the Mobula 6 ELRS. It doesn't really have a name. It's just like the 5 amp Happy Model 1S AIO. That is the only AIO that I've found, and I think I've tested them all now, that is even remotely reliable. So yeah, that's the one. Gamma Gonad says, mine is just under 250 grams running the 03 and 9 grams per motor. I'm running an AIO though. Is that with a battery? What size battery is that with? Gamma Gonad says, there it is, 720 mAh 4S battery. I think that's a high volt battery. So that's probably a pretty light battery. I think maybe 60 grams, maybe 65 grams. Denzel the Terrible says, you don't have M2 gummies. I do have M2 gummies, but M2 gummies are M2 inner diameter and then M3 outer diameter. The holes in this ESC are M2. So there's no, so like an M2 hole with an M2 screw going through it, there's no room for a rubber grommet in that scenario. You have to be drilled to either M3 or M4 in order to use grommets. Unless you were to go down to like an M1.6 mounting screw, but then it would wobble around in the frame, and I don't even know if they make grommets that are like M1.6 to M2. Gabagonad says, that's a fatty battery lead. I'm running a 20 gauge XT30, works perfectly and much lighter. Yeah, I these are just the ones that I have, and I'm just not I'm just not gonna make XT30 leads. It's whatever. I paid for them. They're here. Apache Smoker December says, good morning. Thanks for hanging, brother. YouTube just did the thing. Scrolling back up. Come on. There it is. And man, chat, you guys talking some shit in chat. Thumb is cooking. Boondock Striker says, my 33 gram whoop is 1002, 20,000 kV. What would you recommend to help with the yaw wash? So yeah, 1002s seem like a good idea, but in reality, it's just too much. It's too much stator volume. And nowhere near enough kV. A 1002, really, if we're going to have 1002s on these tiny whoops, they should be like 30,000 kV minimum. They could probably crank like 35,000 kV with all that stator volume. Come on down to 0802. I mentioned these earlier. These are really like the motors for 75 millimeter rigs right now. 0802 is the right size, and now luckily we've got some really durable 802s from tinywhoop.com that have 1.5 millimeter motor shafts up above the bell, and those are these 802 25,000 kV snowblowers and these IGAO Season 4 limited edition 0802 27,000s. I think these are the only two. Nope. There's another one. Oh, but these are way too low of a kV. 19,000 kV. That's way too low. So yeah, these are your two. 25,000 kV or 27,000 kV. 25,000 kV is plenty. And then you're going to run these on GemFan bi-blades. And you're going to get incredible performance. So yeah, either these 802 25,000s with the 1.5 millimeter shaft, or these 802 27,000s. It doesn't mention that it has the bigger shaft here, but if you look at the pictures, it's very obvious that it does. And these are the motors that I have, and these are great. And I have a motor limited down a little bit because 27,000 is an awful lot for the bigger propellers. But yeah, on the GemFan bi-blade in that 1.6 inch size is amazing, very well balanced. Super efficient. You're going to get great runtime, and it's very lightweight, so the PID loop is going to work really well, and that's going to help with the yaw washout issues, because the motor is going to be able to spin up and slow down the whole rotating assembly a lot faster. So yeah, there you go. All right, it's 12:15. I'm going to wrap this thing up. Let me play you guys a little bit more footage from the Miami race. It should pick up right where it left off. Let's see if it does. Hey, look at that. Cool. So yeah, I'll fast forward through this like I was at the beginning of the stream, and you guys can check out some more of the shots of mine that they chose to put on their live stream. I'll see you guys on Wednesday for Whoop Wednesday. We will be putting the Newbie Drone BLV3 back into the slightly heavier tiny lifter, and we're gonna play around with cameras. a little bit. We're going to take another look at cameras and almost certainly put the Mega KV motors back up in the air to continue to kind of confirm that they are making more power. So yeah, Whoop Wednesday should be a good one this week. I promise. It's a bad promise. Enjoy, friends. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Thanks for hanging. CiottiFPV.com if you like this and you want to see it continue. I rely on you, beautiful people. Here you go.